Notice Paul goes on to say, then, for as you were once disobedient, but obtained mercy, even though they have been disobedient, through the mercy shown, they may have mercy. For God has committed them all to disobedience, that He might have mercy on all. Now, then he ends up his passage here with this fantastic statement, "Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and glory, knowledge of God, how unsearchable are His judgments and His ways past finding out." We don't understand how God works oftentimes. "For who has known the mind of the Lord?" Which of us? See, who's been God's counselor? Said, "God, I've got some better idea. You know, I've got some better ideas than you've come up with. I know how you've decided to do it and how your plans are, and but let's sit down and re-talk this, because I think you've made some mistakes." See, who has given to God that it should be repaid to Him? For of Him, through Him, and to Him are all things. To Him be the glory forever. Amen. Now, when you get to Romans 12 through 16, which we haven't got but a few minutes to cover, Romans 12 through 16 builds on everything that we've covered to this point in Romans 1 through 11. And it's a lot to cover. We're not obviously going to cover all of this right now, but we'll at least get a framework for what's going on. What you have in the chapters that follow, Paul tries to give to the Roman church a sense of how to function in reference to their conduct as Christians. The Christians' religious duties, for example, towards God, consecration, verses 1 and 2. He tells them how they should act toward others in chapter 12, verses 4 through 21. Their ministry of gifts and how they are to function among themselves and in the world. Then in chapter 13, he deals with their Christian responsibilities to society in which they found themselves, pretty much as sojourners, because they're not buying into the world's thinking. Christianity was not a legal religion, per se. It was fairly legal until about AD 70, because the Romans considered the Christians to be an offshoot of Jews. As a matter of fact, if you looked at the empire, probably most of the Christians were either Jews or Jewish proselytes, with some Gentiles mixed in. But after 70, that ceased to be the case. And so Christians had to learn how to live in a world that was going to be antagonistic. And then the questions of chapter 14, the religious liberties, the question of what kind of duties we have toward one another, how we're not to draw other Christians into doing things against their own conscience. And lastly, the whole issue of Paul's epilogue in chapter 15, chapter 16, where he talks about his desire to come visit with them in Rome and to minister to them. One point of interest that I find, if you'll just quickly turn to this passage and we'll sort of end with this, is chapter 16, verse 23. You there? 16:23. This is an important passage. "Gaius, my host, and the host of the whole church greet you. Erastus, the treasurer of the city, greets you, and Quartus, a brother." Why is that an important passage? Anybody have my commentary? Turn to Romans 16:23. If you have the commentary that I have on Romans, you can pull up one right there in back of you and take a look at it. Romans, right behind you, Romans 16:23. Not in the Bible, in the commentary. Do you see a picture of a inscription there? What does it say?
Theater inscription at Corinth mentions the name of Erastus.
And you like that picture? I've seen that picture many times. I've got some great pictures of it. Of course, I've been down there. You have to be careful. Most tours that take you to Corinth don't take you down here, because you have to actually leave the upper city. Actually, there's 3 layers. The Acra Corinth, way up high, takes you about an hour or 2 to get to. Then the city below, and then a city below that. And down there is a public pavement. that it used to be the people that were officials in ancient cities, they got their positions because they were wealthy, and they used their own personal wealth for the benefit of the citizens. A little different scene than what we have today, where the government, instead of them using their own wealth, is take your wealth. So, but in these days, they would use their own wealth, and they built a pavement. And in this pavement, you'll actually see that inscription that we put in here, Erastus, the city treasurer. So we probably have at Corinth, if you go down to the lower city where the snakes are, you can go down there and walk in the path, and they have this pavement down there with this early Christian, most likely, this early Corinthian Christian's name engraved on the pavement that he built for the people. Isn't that interesting? So this is, I think, a very, very significant portion of Romans, because you have such a common contact today. Well, listen, it's been great. There's much more that could be said, as you well know, since we didn't cover everything we wanted to. But we will continue at a later time.